watching something and you know you shouldn't be watching it, you got to change the channel. Same thing with our thinking and our mind. When we start heading down the wrong direction, we've got to change it. Put into practice what you have learned and received from me. Then you will find God's peace. That is such a key. So if you take anything this morning, take that. Keep putting into practice the things that you've learned. You know, it is not a removal of the circumstances or the situation you're in that brings peace. It's actually the change of your focus. It's the change of your focus. Where's your mind going? You see, what we focus on and give attention to enlarges. It's a bit like a magnifying glass. And, Jason and I are getting to the stage now where the eyes aren't quite as good as they used to be. And I remember visiting Mum a couple of years ago, and she's got this magnifying glass in her kitchen, and she uses it to read the labels on the food, because it's so small. And I used to be able to read those things. And now I find I can't. And I used to laugh at my mother, like, oh, Mum, you have to use a magnifying glass. And I was telling that story to a few ladies after church one Sunday, and Kathy Scarcella thought it was hilarious. So she bought me this for Christmas. And I am embarrassed to admit that it comes out more often than I would like to admit. But the truth is, it's awesome. It makes it so much bigger and clearer that I can read things. And it's true. It's because what you're focusing on, like a magnifying glass, it's focused and it makes it clear and larger in your life. What are you focusing on, church? Where is your attention? Your focus makes such a difference in your life. So the focusing on the right things. And number 4 this morning is to be still. Be still. Choose to sit at Jesus' feet. I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes I feel guilty if I'm not doing something. I feel like I have to be busy doing something. And but the truth is, making time to rest is really important. And, Jesus gives us an example where he created the world in 6 days and then he rested. Even Jesus gave us that example. It's so important. And I just wanted to share this illustration with you from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. And I'm reading it from the Message commentary this morning because I just love the way that it's shared. It says here in verse 38 to 40, as they continued their travel, this is Jesus traveling with his disciples. As they continued their travel, Jesus entered a village, and a woman by the name of Martha welcomed him and made him feel quite at home. She had a sister Mary who sat before the master, hanging on every word that he said. But Martha was pulled away by all that she had to do in the kitchen. And later she stepped in, interrupting them. And you can just picture it, hey, she's working away and she's that's it, I've had enough. She steps out there and she says, Master, don't you care that my sister has abandoned me to the kitchen? Tell her to lend me a hand. And the master says, Martha, dear Martha, you are fussing far too much and getting yourself worked up over nothing. Only one thing is essential, and Mary has chosen it. It is the main course, and it won't be taken from her. I love that. It's the main course. Sometimes we get caught up on the small things that trip us up. And the main course is, hey, I've got to spend time with Jesus. I've got to be still, sit, rest in him. There is always something to be done. There is always something pulling for our attention. There's always an email to send, a phone call to make, jobs to be done, chores around the house, someone to visit. There's always something. But sometimes the most important thing to do in the moment is to actually stop and be still. Spend time with God. Allow him to speak to you. Allow his peace to come over your life, and then you can go and do all that you're called to do. It's a really good reminder of how important it is just to sit and rest in the presence of God and allow his peace to wash over you. You know, peace in the Bible has been described like a river. You heard peace like a river? And I love how Lisa Turquoise explains it. She says, God chose such a unique word to describe his peace, a river. You see, a river is not calm and void of activity. It is active and cleansing and confident of the direction it is headed in. It doesn't get caught up with the rocks in its path. It flows over and around them, all the while smoothing the jagged edges and allowing them to add to its beauty rather than take away from it. How beautiful is that description of a river? Peace like a river. Isn't that something that we want our lives to be like? Peace like a river? That things we go through actually add to our life, not take away. Beth Moore states, peace is submission to a trustworthy authority, not resignation from activity. Peace is us trusting God. It tells us in Psalm 46 verse 10, be still and know that I am God. You know, being still is not being lazy. It's not being lazy. It's actually prioritizing Jesus in your life. That's what being still is. It's saying, hey, Jesus, I'm putting you first. Not, this is a chance to just sit on my backside. Being still is that opportunity to prioritize Jesus in your life. And I think that's pretty important. Isaiah 48 verses 17 to 18. This is the prophet again speaking and encouraging us, saying, this is what the Lord says. This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord your God, who teaches you what is good for you and leads you along paths you should follow. Oh, that you had listened to my commands. Then you would have had peace flowing like a river, like a gentle river, and righteousness rolling over you like waves of the sea. So incredible. See, God gives us his commands and his word for our good. They're not like rules so that you feel like this restriction. They're there for our good so that you can have peace flowing like a river and not turmoil. You know, when you make a wrong decision and you feel that guilt and that shame, that's why Jesus gives us his word, his direction for us, his commands for us to follow so that we can have that peace, so we can walk in that freedom that God has for us.